Taanis Daf, the Gemara tells us a story. There was a time when Klein was going up to Yerushalayim for Aliyah Regel, and there's no drinking water. And there's a very wealthy man by the name of Nechama ben Gurion. His birth name was Abuni ben Gurion. And he did a deal, struck a deal with a local sar, with one of the important people in town, and he said as follows: you give me 12 pits of water, 12 wells of water, and I'll return them. But if I don't return them, I'll give you 12 loaves of silver, an exorbitant amount of money. Now, the non-Jew, he thought to himself, it's impossible that it's going to rain. So many months into the season, it didn't rain yet. Okay, let's do the deal. Sure enough, the day comes when he has to pay up, and it didn't rain yet. So the non-Jew, the sire, sends to Nagdiman, pay up. He says, I still have time. When the day was almost over, Nagdiman runs to the Beis Hamikdash and he davens, and he says, Ribono shel olam, I didn't do this for myself. I did this for your kavod. And sure enough, it rained and filled up the bayros. Says the sar, it's too late. You filled up my wells after Shkia. So Nagdiman davened again. He went to the Beis Hamikdash and davened, and the sun stopped in its tracks and pierced through the clouds, and it was a simon. It was a big nace. The guy saw the nace, and he admitted to it. The Gemara tells us there's only 3 people that such a nace occurred to: Nagdiman ben Gurion, to Moshe Rabbeinu, and to Yeshua. We said the other day in the Mishnah that if it rains in one city and doesn't rain in another city, so the Gemara brings the pasuk. The Gemara says this pasuk, when it rains, even when it rains in the other city, it's also a curse. In the city it doesn't rain, of course it's a curse. There's no water. But in the city that it does rain, it rains too much, and that's a curse. When the pasuk says Yerushalayim lenida hayasa, or kalmana, that's actually a bracha. What the pasuk is trying to say is that just like a nida and an almana, they could get out of the situation, this tvila, the husband could come back, so too Yerushalayim. The pasuk calls Klal Yisrael shveilim v'nivzim, the low, the despised. That's also a good thing. It's a bracha. Because like this, the non-Jew is not going to take the Jew to be in charge of taxes and to be police, because that is something that everybody hates. They'll hate the Jews for that, and it's a good thing that we don't get that job. The Torah also says that Klal Yisrael is compared to a reed in a water. So the Gemara tells us something very interesting. When somebody that loves us curses us, that's better than a bracha from somebody that hates us. From Bilam Lamashal. Achi Ashiloini said that we should be like a reed. We should be in a place that's full of water. We have constant nourishment, and it moves with the wind. No matter what they throw at Klal Yisrael, we're able to bend with it. And when things get better, we'll stand up straight. But Bilam said we should be like a cedar tree. Cedar tree is very strong initially, but you give it one very strong wind, the southern wind, it'll fall down. And in fact, the reed was Zoicha, that we take that reed and you make a quill out of it, and you write a Sefer Torah and Nevi'im Ksuvim with it. Lalezarian Shimon, the Gemara tells us a very interesting story. There's a Tana Rebbe Eliezer. One day, he was very excited about all what he learned, and somebody came over to him, and this person was very not good looking. And he said hello, and he didn't answer him. He said, you're ugly. The person was very insulted. He said, why do you call me ugly? Go speak to my creator who created me like this. Eliezer realized he made a mistake. He got off his donkey, asked him Mechila. The guy wouldn't be Meichel him. So he followed him all the way to the city. When he got to the city, everybody came out to greet this Tana, Rebbe Eliezer. And this guy that's insulted asks, who is he? They say, he's a big Tana. He says, not a Tana. You know what he did to me? He insulted me. So he said, listen, be Meichel him. He's a great Talmud Chacham. So he said, I'll be Meichel you on one condition. That you don't make a habit out of this. You don't do this very often. And he agreed, and that's where he came up with this pshat, that Klal Yisrael should be like a kana, like a reed. You should be flexible and easygoing. We learned in the Mishnah that if a house falls down from the wind, so the Gemara tells us, depends, and you fast for it, that it must be a wall that's not about to fall, and a strong wall. So the Gemara says, what's the difference? 2 cases the Gemara gives us. Well, it's actually 3, 2 in one and 1 in the other. It's possible you have a really strong wall, but it's very narrow and tall. So it's strong, but it's about to fall down. You have a very strong wall on the brink of a river where the water erodes the foundation. So in Mela, it's a very strong, but it's about to fall down. You have another case. You have a case where the wall is very weak, but for many years it hasn't fallen down. So it's not about to fall down. We have a situation with Rav and Shmuel. They had such a wall, but they always would walk around it. Tells us the Gemara, the one day Rav Ada bar Ahava was a very special tzaddik. He came, and Rav wanted to walk around, and Shmuel said, no, we have Rav Ada bar Ahava, let him walk underneath it, it's not going to collapse on him. Similar story, Rav Huna, he had a barrel of wine in a house that was about to collapse. He didn't know how to take it out, how to retrieve it. He came up with an idea. He said, let me convince Rav Ada bar Ahava to come into the house with me, and then I'll retrieve it. So he started talking to him and learning, and Rav Ada bar Ahava didn't pay attention to where he was, and they went in. And then immediately after they left, the house collapses. So Rav Ada bar Ahava was upset at Rav Huna. So what are you doing to me? First of all, I don't know if I have this chusim that it shouldn't fall on me, but even if I did, that takes away from my bank account. That takes away, it's menakim ischuyoisai. Why was Rav Ada bar Ahava zoicha ta'arichas yamim, to long life? The Gemara tells us because he was never angry in his own house. He never showed kas. When he would walk with people that were greater than him, he wouldn't walk in front of them. He never thought in learning when he was in Mekamis HaMetunafos, in dirty places. And he never went 4 amas without Torah and tefillin. He never slept in the Beis Medrash, even a temporary sleep. And he was never happy when his friends fell. And he would never call anybody else with a nickname, not their first name and not their last name. Why was Rav Huna Zoicha? Well, when he was older, at least we know when he was older, they used to carry him in a golden chair. He was a very wealthy man. And when it was cloudy, he would say, listen, this broken wall, we got to knock it down. And if somebody couldn't afford to rebuild that wall, he would pay for it. On Erev Shabbos, he would send somebody to buy all the vegetables from the marketplace. He wanted there to be a lot of vegetables. And in order to save the sellers from a loss, he wanted them to bring a lot, and if they had any left over, he would pay for it. And they would take anything that was left over, throw it into the river, as Rashi explains, because downriver somebody would find it and eat it. But he wouldn't give it to the poor people, because what if there's nothing left over that Shabbos? Then the poor people wouldn't have anything. He wanted to get them used to buying. He wouldn't give it to an animal, because it's us to give food like that to an animal. It's like as if you're kicking the great chesed Hashem does to us. Or HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want us to spend money like that. Another thing he would do, if he had medicine that nobody else had, he would hang it on his doorway, let everybody come get it. If he had water from the Sidayim, also would hang it, let everybody get into the Sidayim, so that people shouldn't have a zakon. Rava said, I could do everything that Rav Huna did, besides one thing. I can't afford to feed all the needy in my city. There's so many needy. Have a wonderful day.